Hey guys, Pond Solo Fishing here on a nice rainy day in Tampa, which is why I am going to go over how to store soft plastics. Now, there's two different trains of thought here. There's, of course, leave it in the original packaging, and then there's the, hey, let's find a way to store this so it takes up less space. All right, the people that believe in the original packaging believe you need to keep those scents, the oils and all that in the package so that those baits maintain themselves over a long period of time. Then there's the people that put them into containers like myself. I do a little bit of both really, but the people that put them in the containers themselves that believe, hey, I need more space. I need a more organized way to transport these. I need a better way to be able to keep these in my house. Obviously having a bunch of little bags that are all different shapes, they don't stack well. It's really hard to store those without taking up a lot of space and creating a problem trying to find what you're looking for. All right, so I'm going to go over the way that I do it. It's not the best way. It's not the perfect way. The perfect way is going to be the way that is right for you. This is perfect for me. Might not be perfect for you. But I'm going to go over what I do. Then hopefully it helps you out, at least give you some ideas on what you can do. And then what I'll do is I'm going to go over two different ways that you can maintain your plastics. Because again, the greatest concern of taking them out of the packaging is, first of all, it's going to warp the plastic container. I've never had that problem because they have plastic softeners and things like that inside of a lot of these baits. I've never had any issue with that. But I also use my baits pretty quickly. The other issue, it's going to dry out. I've never had an issue with that. I've kept them in these containers for a couple years, never had any problems. If you do have problems, then all you got to do is drop a couple drops of oil in there. The type of oil depends on you. I usually use a fish-based oil and put those drops on there, and I tend to have a better reaction from fish when I use those lures. So in some ways, it actually ends up working out better. All right, so outside of those concerns, let's go over what I got. So I use a couple different containers. I use the Plano 3750. You can look that up, and that's going to be for my smaller types of soft baits. And then I use a Flambeau 5007 for my general worms and trick baits and things like that. So let's go over what I got here. So this is the Plano box. Plano box, as you can see, it's got a bunch of different holes. The thing about the Plano box is they have these big areas down here. And of course you can adjust the size of them to some degree. This is what makes it really difficult to use as a worm box. I could put the worms up here, but then I have to put something else down here. So my solution was just to make a box that's just worms and boxes that are just these soft baits. So in this example, I have in here, this particular box, I got some frogs. I got these guys. Got, my shads, those kind of guys. I got a little variety of things. Also, I put in here like my hogs and my craws. So most of this stuff that you see in here, this is going to be stuff that I'm either going to put on a swim bait hook, or I got like little guys like this. I'm going to put them on a jig. They're going to be a trailer, things like that. That's why they're in this box, because it requires me to use some type of a specific type of head, like a jig head, a swim bait head, a jig, whatever. That's typically what I'm using those for. Now you could always put, like, these guys do great. This is a hog. They do great when you put them on like a Texas rig. Rig them like a lizard basically. But for general purposes, that's what I use that for. All right, next box I have. This is pretty much my drop shot and just random kind of box. Okay, so in here, got the tubes. I don't use a lot of tubes, but I have a lot of tubes. I've just kind of collected them over the years. You get these deals on them sometimes. I've got my Deadly Dudleys. Got my X-Man, stuff like that. Got my little Finesse. These are great for drop shots. So I use these for drop shots as well. So it just depends on what you're trying to get. I mean, I put my War Mouse in there. I got a little bit of everything in here. So pretty simple. Okay, then we move over to, we got one more box of these. And this is my creature box. So, creature box. You know, you got your normal creatures. Got them in a bunch of different colors. Got these guys. For some reason I can't remember the name of them. And then if you guys watch my channel a lot, you know that I love lizards. In Florida, these lizards absolutely crush. So I have lizards in every color. In fact, I have multiple boxes of lizards. I have creature and lizard boxes. I probably have 5 of these boxes. So I have every color you could possibly imagine in both, you know. In Florida, they just absolutely destroy, and probably one of my favorites. If you guys haven't seen this guy yet, this is the water dragon. I believe it's made by Culprit, I believe. That absolutely crushes. You're going to get big fish on that. That's a pretty big profile lizard-like bait, and that works great. All right, then I got I call it my long box. And by long box, I really kind of mean your trick worms. You know, so you got you got a variety of different color of trick worms. These are fantastic. I use these when I need a lot of action. These work great. You know, your typical worm, they don't have as much flair to them. They don't have as much action. So this thing, I don't even know what to call this thing, but it's got a bunch of, it moves really cool. And then I got my really long stuff. Like this is a U-tail here, technically, kind of, but it's a huge one. So I put it in here with my long baits, and I have like my 10-inch worms, you know, so got a little variety, and I have a couple boxes of these. You know, can never have too many trick worms. Trick worms are always cool. They work fantastic. Really good bait, again, when you're trying to get some action, when the fish are a little more aggressive, try to entice them to bite. Then just got one of many just basic worm, stick worms. You know, just a variety of different colors here. There's some color changing ones, a couple different colors. You know, got chartreuse tails, got white and green with flake, you know, just a little bit of everything. Like I said, I mean, I probably got, I don't know, worms themselves, I probably got 3-4 of those boxes as well. All right, then you got here, these are my U-tails. If you notice, my U-tails, they're all red colors. You know, they're dark. Like, there's a nice tomato one by Culprit. Probably one of my favorite ones. I like the Culprit brand a lot. This one I always use on the 4th of July just because, you know, America. Got this guy. You know, a couple little variety here. But most of them, if you notice, this one I use the most. So I have actually 2 sections of these. But if you notice, most of these are red. Reason why is I find the U-tails tend to attract more aggressive fish. More aggressive fish tend to really like red. So I've had the best luck with red U-tails, whereas if I did red and pretty much anything else, it doesn't work as well. So I find the U-tail really brings out an aggressive fish. So that's when I use that one typically. And then here, just, you know, paddle tails. Got a couple of these boxes. I don't use paddle tails as much. I use them more as trailers. They look great on a jig. So even though these are long, normally I want a short profile when I'm using my jigs. I actually use a paddle tail on a jig. And if I find that it's too long, sometimes I feel like the presentation's a little bit much. I just cut off a chunk of the top. So, you know, so they can be pretty versatile. Just depends on what you're trying to do. But if I got a situation where, you know, I want a shorter profile paddle tail, I'll usually go with something like this. They're already made for that. They also have their own little, you know, there's also special rigs that you can get just for the paddle tail if you don't know about them already. So, something like that. So you have a wide variety of stuff. So, pretty much that simple. You know, everybody has, like I said, everybody has their own different style. Everybody does things a little bit differently than I do. That's just how I do it. I've had no problems whatsoever with it. What I try to do is I try to rotate out those worms as much as possible. I find regular use also tends to, you don't want to buy 3 bags of one thing typically. Very rarely do I have more than 1 bag in there. That's why you see some of my worms. I use worms all the time. They're a little bit more empty, so I'll replace them as I need to. And then the other question I always get about it is, well, you don't have them labeled. A lot of people will label them. You can put labels on them. A lot of people label them and they want to know what they are so that if they run out and they liked it a lot, they could go buy a new one. Honestly, I know what I have. I know what brands those are. I could go and find it in a store. Not a problem. Okay. However, I also don't run by the same philosophy that there's only one worm for the job. I honestly believe a bass will bite damn near anything. If it's not working, try something else. I have so much tackle here that if I can't find a way to make a fish bite, then the fish just aren't biting. That's just how it is. Sometimes they are just not ready. They're not aggressive and they're not hungry. Those are the 2 ways you're going to get a fish to bite, because they're aggressive and annoyed, or they're hungry. If they're not aggressive and annoyed and they're not hungry and they're just calm and happy and full, there's nothing you can throw at them that's going to fix that problem. All right. So again, I don't really worry about the brands and all that kind of stuff. The only thing that's a little bit different though is that I always keep my Gary Yamamoto's, the expensive ones. I always keep those ones in their bag. Only reason why I do that is because I want them separate. I bring those out on special occasions. They're expensive to use. A $2 bag of Zoom works pretty good, works most of the time, but every once in a while you need that salt impregnated Gary Yamamoto to get the job done. So if I'm not getting any hits whatsoever, I throw one of those on. I'll throw a green pumpkin, a watermelon seed, or a peanut butter and jelly. If I throw all 3 of those and I can't get any hits within a half an hour, I'm done fishing. I know that it's not going to work that day. That's usually it. I always get bites on those. So again, you can do it however you want. This is just how I do it. All right. So if you guys like my videos, make sure you hit the like button, hit that subscribe, hit the bell, and of course, we'll see you on the water.